Hi there, just wanted to make a quick video to show how to install a sub panel in a backyard shed. This is the sub panel I installed. It's 30 amp service that goes to the house. The house is about 100 feet away, so I had to dig a trench 18 inches deep over the span of about 100 feet, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But just to show you the upgrades that I made to the shed first, and then we'll go to the house and show you how this is wired into the main panel. So we have the power coming in here through this 1.25 inch flexible conduit, and the power comes in here and it goes to these two breakers. These breakers, they're tied together. It's a double pole breaker, and this acts as the service disconnect. So if you wanted to shut all the power off to this whole sub panel, you would just flip this breaker here, just to show you. And I labeled with a label maker just to keep everything organized. So circuits 1 and 2 are the main, and then 3 and 4, that's the 240 volt outlet for the shop heater. And this has to be GFCI, or it should be GFCI protected. And just to show you, this is the shop heater here, and it's got this remote. It's a infrared doctor heater, it's called. And since this shed is not insulated, I decided to go with infrared heat versus like a space heater, just because it's more efficient. I think it's more efficient if you don't have insulation. So this outlet here is a 240 volt outlet that's 20 amps, but they don't make GFCI outlets that are they don't make this form of an outlet that's GFCI protected. So you have to tie it to a GFCI breaker if you want the GFCI protection on its own circuit. So this double pole breaker here is outrageously expensive. It's about $120, but if you want to do everything properly, you kind of have to do it. And these next two outlets are just for all, these next two breakers are for all of the outlets that control the garage doors, all of the GFCIs. I have 3 light receptacles, 1 down kind of on the base level, and then 2 up in the loft ceiling area. So just to show you first, show you the garage door. The garage door can be opened a couple different ways. There's a like a doorbell thing here that I'll show you. And this garage door opener has a battery backup as well, and that's tied to an outlet right there. So the garage door has these safety sensors at the bottom as well, and it also has a keypad. So we'll close this here. Next thing I want to show you is the data cable that's coming in the house. I have two lines, one for potentially if I wanted to hardwire internet, and the other is I'd like to put up a security camera eventually. Here is that's the wire that I used for the data cable. Next is I want to show you the outlets, and the way this kind of works is if you put a GFCI outlet as your first outlet, and then everything downstream you can make GFCI. So this is the first outlet for this circuit, goes to this outlet here, and you have to put these stickers on if it's just to show that it is GFCI protected. And since I'm in a shed, I made everything GFCI just to be, extremely safe in case there's any type of wet conditions or whatever. There shouldn't be. The shed's pretty well built, but I just kind of overbuilt it. I purposely put an outlet here for the chargers, and this is a three-way switch. There's a switch on the back door, and there's a switch at the garage door, just to show you. And either one of these will turn on and off the lights. That's kind of how a three-way switch works. And the next circuit is this one here. It's a GFCI outlet, and then it goes to a receptacle there as well. All of the wiring is what's called MC cable, which stands for metal clad cable. In case there's any mice or any critters that get in the shed that like to chew on wires, they won't be able to with this type of wiring. And everything is 20 amp, 12 gauge wire. The actual main wire that comes in that powers the whole sub panel is what's called THHN, and it's 10 gauge wire. And with this type of setup, you have to wire it for 240 volts. So you need basically two hots, which is a black and a red, and then a neutral, which is white, and then your ground, which is either bare copper or green. So the main power comes in as 240 volts, and then the shop heater is 240 volts, and then each branch circuit is 120 volts. So a couple other things is I decided to use these Ideal lever locks instead of wing nuts, which I was actually very happy with. The most popular brand that people use of these are called Wago connectors, and those are pretty good too. But please don't use the push-in connectors, especially if you have like the shed. It's going to get really hot in the summer, and it's going to get really cold in the winter. So with the push-in connectors, it's just bad form because they could eventually become loose over time. The other habit that I've always gotten into is I don't trust the backstab method for any type of outlets. So I'll always make these shepherd hooks and use these screws on the receptacle instead of backstabbing the outlets, which is what a lot of people do. And technically there's nothing wrong with it, but I've just never trusted it. Here's another example of the lever lock instead of the wing nuts. So all the boxes, they're all metal boxes. All of them are grounded, and the sub panel, it's very important that first of all, a couple things is that you tie into ground. So here's a 6 gauge bare copper wire that goes outside, and I put an 8-foot grounding rod to ground the sub panel. But the most important thing with sub panels is you always separate your ground and your neutral, no matter what. With the main panel, you don't. I'm not going to get into exactly why and how that works, but with the sub panel, you do need to separate your grounds and your neutrals. The main panel, you don't. So I made sure to keep everything to code. I fastened within 12 inches of all of the boxes. And I just had the inspection done. Everything passed. Everything was approved. I purposely left these boxes open so the inspector could view all my work. And he approved of everything. So I'm going to eventually fasten these boxes down. With the shop heater, it's very important that if you don't have any insulation, to use an infrared heater I think it's just more efficient than a space heater type of unit. So that's about it for the inside of the shed. And now I'll show you the trench that goes to the outside. And I had to dig this 18 inches deep in the ground. So this is the grounding rod. This is where the line for the ground comes out, and grounding rod is bare copper 5/8 of an inch. And I do have an irrigation system, so wherever you see those flags, I had to work around the irrigation line. And then I put conduit hangers to fasten everything to the underside of the shed. So, just to show you. So this is where the power comes from the house. So this is the data line that has those two data cables, and this is the power, which is 4 THHN wires. Your 2 hots, which is your black and your red, your white, which is neutral, and ground, which is either green or bare copper. In this case, I used an insulated green THHN wire. These two are expansion joints, so when the ground freezes or thaws, the ground's going to move, which allows this to move, so these won't separate from the house. The inspector did make me add these 2 clamps, so I did make a separate YouTube video if you want to see how to install this whole unit and how to glue everything properly together, but he did make me add these 2 clamps just per code. So that really wasn't an issue. Here's an example of the irrigation line that I had to work around. And then we'll go to the house. And this is where the power comes in. This orange wire and that's the data I just kind of wrapped up there, but the orange wire is, like I said, 10 gauge, and it's stapled every 12 inches. It comes into the main panel. And it's 30 amps, a double pole 30 amp breaker, so it's 30 amp service, which corresponds to the 10 gauge wire. And again, I use the label maker to properly label that. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.